Welcome, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well. Happy Monday. All the online teachers that are here, do say hello in the chat. It's good to see people that were popping in as the music was playing. Kind of a more mellow song today. Hope you enjoyed it. Just wanted to say hello to a few people that were here early. So good job being early and one of the first ones. Hey, Carl. Hey, Jay China. Good vibes indeed. Hey, James. James says he's still teaching a private class, so I'll watch for now. All right, fantastic. Hey, Dominique. Hey, Arjuna. Hello, Facebook user. If you'd like us to see your name, you can authorize Facebook, if you're watching from Facebook, to allow you to use authorize StreamYard to show your name. You can do that in the link that's below the video on Facebook. Hey, Patricia, good to have you here again. Thanks so much. Lots of regulars here. And yeah, if you are here and you see a live chat on the right-hand side, please use the chat and say hello, ask questions. I'm going to wait a few more minutes as folks roll in to get into the contents of this topic this week, which is all about how do teachers get paid from Chinese students, if that is a route that you are going. A lot of us have really had a really upheaval of our jobs in the last couple of weeks, companies shutting down, companies phasing out in China. And a lot of folks are looking for options, and this is an option. It isn't for everybody, but if people are interested in teaching their students privately, it is possible. I have been teaching 2 or 3 students for several years. I actually had my first student online in 2013, when I left China and moved to Malaysia. I took one of my students with me. Now, back then, it was kind of the Wild West, and there wasn't a lot of resources out there for online teaching and for private teaching with students in China. So we kind of made it work. I used Skype to do good old Skype, if you have ever used Skype, to do the video call. And that was kind of our classroom. And then we migrated to Zoom. And we kind of had to figure out the payment thing. It was really messy in the beginning. Actually, back then, the very first time I got paid from a student in China was through a direct bank transfer. It sounds really simple, but for Chinese people in China, transferring funds internationally can be really difficult and challenging. And so, but where there's a will, there's a way. And when parents want to be able to pay you, they will often figure out how to do it. And it is possible. And I'm going to invite Yoshua up in about a minute to talk about some options that he has kind of figured out as well as a private online tutor or teacher. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But just wanted to quickly say hello to folks that were strolling in just now. Good to have everybody. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Jody. Jody says, hello, I use PayPal, but it's not great. The fees pile up. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Deborah from Connecticut. Hey, Diane, new at this. Yep, a lot of teachers are. You're not alone. My Setab 1, just as I was about to begin this journey, hope to get much needed info. Yetta in West Palm Beach, Florida. Awesome. Hey, King Bradley, tea time with Teacher Tim. Yes, good to have you here. Good to have everybody here. Great. So we want to make this engaging. If you are watching live and you've got questions or you just want to say hello, that's what it's all about here. So let me bring up Yoshua. Are you ready, Yoshua? Awesome. Hello.
Hello. Hi, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for coming. You were actually, I met you on Facebook probably, I don't know, it might have been 6 or 9 months ago. You were talking about receiving money from China and you had some solutions. So I remember reaching out to you. And then, as things kind of imploded in the last couple of weeks, I've seen you mentioned on social media and things like that. So I thought you'd be a great guest to have on just to talk about options and to give teachers, some ideas about what's possible if you are thinking about getting into online private tutoring. So yeah, please introduce yourself. Where are you coming in from today?
Well, my name is Yoshua, and I'm coming in from Albuquerque, New Mexico in the USA.
Awesome. Thanks for getting up so early.
Thank you. It's only 8 here.
Okay.
But yeah, this is my hometown. But
okay.
I only recently just came back. I've been a traveling online teacher for a while. I lived in Vietnam for a couple of years. I taught in a hagwon in Korea for 1 year.
Oh,
Uh,
awesome.
I quarantined in Republic of Georgia and spent the whole time teaching for about a
Okay.
year. And then I came back here, and this is where I am.
Wow, that's great. I didn't realize that you had traveled so much. You're similar to me. I've lived in China and then I lived in Malaysia and then I now live in Thailand, not specifically by choice, but because of visa issues and the whole lockdown situation there. And then I kind of moved into another lockdown here. But yeah, it's a great job to be able to travel and keep working. So you said you were quarantining in Georgia for the whole year?
Pretty much a whole year. Yeah, I
Oh
think it
my
was a
goodness.
whole year. Yeah.
Was that by choice or?
It was by choice. I knew that restrictions would be increasing. I knew that travel would become restricted soon.
Okay.
So I decided to go to the safest country on the map.
Yeah.
And at the time, that was the Republic of Georgia. And they
Yeah.
offered me like a visa free year to just stay there. And I
Oh,
got
that's
in the
great.
door just before it closed. So I hung out
Wow.
there. The food and drink, I ate the food and drink. And I taught English from an Airbnb, and I did that for a year. And then recently I came back home to be nearer to family in New Mexico.
Cool. Yeah, that was a decision I was going through when I had troubles in Malaysia. I thought, well, I could go back to Canada, I could get vaccinated. The problem is I had my cat, and so the thought of just being able to get on a
Oh.
1 hour flight to Thailand, even though things weren't that good, it was an easy, quick solution, I guess. So,
Hmm.
but okay, so tell us. We're going to talk about money now. Tell us about how you got into private teaching and this whole, yeah, world of teaching students privately,
Yeah. Well, like I said,
and what your experiences are with that.
Mhm, mhm. Like I said, I've been teaching and teaching online too for a few years, working just like most people, working
Yeah.
for some big companies. And around 2019, I got it into my head that I wanted to try branching out and doing my own thing too. Uh, and in fact, I had one student, my first uh, paying private student was from China. And they messaged me on WeChat and they just said, hey, we're interested in doing some lessons with you in WeChat. Could you just do WeChat calls with our kid and we'll send you some payment? And I said sure, but it was kind of like jumping off the deep end because I'd never done that
Yeah.
before. And one of the things that I had to figure out on the deep end was, well, they said they're going to send payment, but how will that work exactly? And
Yeah.
what ended up happening was they sent a bank wire transfer, just a traditional bank wire transfer.
Yeah.
And they ended up having to send a large amount, like a lump sum, because the
Mm.
fees were kind of high.
Yeah.
But it is possible. It's a hassle. There were fees, but it is possible, and they did it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember the parent that paid me in 2013 or 14. I think it was 2013 by bank transfer. They spent several hours at the bank, and it is possible, but the reason is there's just so much paperwork involved and so much verification, I think, that goes into sending funds internationally. Can we chat about for a minute about why it is so difficult? Like, why can't parents just send money easily out of China? Do you have any thoughts on that, or reasons why? I
Um,
mean,
I can't say I'm an expert, but
yeah,
I could give some general. I think it's a couple different things. One is maybe regulation. I
yeah,
think that it's going to be easier to send money into China than it is to send money out of China, and
yeah,
that I guess that makes money sense to have
yeah,
that kind of rule. Um, uh, it's I think another reason is just the payments ecosystem is different. It
yeah,
developed separately. It developed very differently,
yes,
and whereas we use PayPal and TransferWise and credit card. In China,
Yeah.
it's very different. They use WeChat Pay and Alipay and Union Pay
Yeah.
cards. And
Yeah.
so being able to transfer payments back and forth, there are some barriers. Yeah.
Yeah. You brought up a good point about it really being its own ecosystem in and of itself that has developed separately from the world. I mean, we don't use WeChat regularly in our day-to-day lives. We use other apps that are international and used around the world, whereas China has a very specific app, WeChat, which allows, users to really do everything payment-wise, banking, everything exists within that one app. We do have apps like that are, obviously Facebook is one, but it doesn't deal specifically with payments. But there's other apps that we use that are kind of, allow us to do different things. But we're still able to send payments way easier than it is for someone from China to send payments out of China to us.
Yeah.
Which becomes a real stumbling block to receiving money. But there are solutions, and as we said, the bank transfer is a solution. And where there's a will, there's a way, as I said in the beginning. And if a parent really wants to pay you, and they're really struggling, they can go to a bank and transfer the money, and that's going to probably require you as the teacher to set up your number of classes that they're going to pay for in advance, because they're not going to pay individual classes as they go along. You're probably going to want them to bulk pay. That's what the student did for me. They paid for 50 classes in advance. Now, I had a relationship with that student, so there wasn't a fear or risk really involved, because they trusted me and I trusted them. But for a lot of parents who may not know you very well and have just kind of known you through maybe an online teaching platform, that's a little daunting for a parent to send a lot of money right off the bat to someone in another country, right?
Yeah,
so
I'd say so.
There's risk there for sure. So bank transfer is an option. What about PayPal?
I've heard teachers say that I've heard many teachers say, "Hey, I use PayPal with my private students' parents." I know it can be done.
Yes.
It may not be the most popular option with parents. Certainly not like Alipay and WeChat Pay. It's going to be like a foreign app. So if you'd like to download and create an account with a foreign app, it might be kind of an obstacle, but some parents are willing to do it. And I think we can see that in the teacher Facebook groups where some teachers always chime in and say, yeah, I get paid by PayPal. So
yeah, some do. And it might require, having them using a VPN of some sort to work around that, because as you know, a lot of websites aren't accessible in China. So PayPal, not a great option, but can be done. Now, what about WeChat Pay? Because I've received money into my WeChat Pay, but the trouble with WeChat Pay that I've experienced is you have to have a Chinese bank account linked to that.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah. In order to be able to use WeChat as a wallet and not just a messaging app, it has to be verified. And what that requires is a bank card, like a Chinese bank card. When I tried it, that's what I found. It wouldn't let me do it unless I had a Chinese bank card.
Yeah, correct. I gave up my Chinese bank when I left, unfortunately. And that was probably one of my biggest regrets is giving up that bank, because that would have been the golden ticket right there.
I've even thought before of going to China specifically for either
it's
a
more
bank
difficult.
account or...
Yeah, it is more difficult. And what I have, another student of mine, what I've done is I have contacts in China who have bank accounts, and I've been able to kind of coordinate with them to do the payments. But it gets messy. Rob says, yeah, the best and most efficient way for Chinese parents to pay tuition to foreign teachers is my WeChat Pay. Bank transfers cost so much. PayPal is not an option either. It depends. Some are able to work the PayPal thing. 80 students on WeChat. Yes.
Holy smokes.
You must have a Chinese bank going on there, I would imagine, Rob. Let us know.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear more about that too.
James says, same thing in Vietnam. I wanted to send my mom $1,000 but I had to have 1,000 in the bank and give them 1,000. It took 3 trips to the bank. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Vietnam is also an interesting market.
Yeah, you would know about that.
Yeah, I lived in Vietnam for 2 years. I do send, if you're talking about sending payment into Vietnam, I usually use TransferWise. I send it to a bank account from my TransferWise.
Yes, actually, I've had a Chinese parent figure out TransferWise as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, everything is possible. It's just it's not. You want to make things seamless and easy and trustable on both ends. So some of these kind of around the back ways that are using VPNs and things like that may not be as stable. Go ahead.
A lot of teachers have found lots of different ways to do it. It kind of just comes down to whatever way you find works for you, works.
That's right.
I've even met one teacher. The craziest one I met was he was buying Bitcoin in China and then selling it in his home country.
Oh my God.
It was a super huge hassle, even like for him. But when I was first starting out as a private teacher, and he was someone who'd been doing it for some years before I even started to do it, and that was the way he was doing it, and I was just blown away.
Wow.
I wouldn't recommend that.
I wouldn't recommend that one either. Okay, let's get to the probably the best one, which is going to lead into what your service is, and but really, let's start by talking about how you can use Stripe integration on your website or whatever you have. So let's talk about that as an option. So Stripe is a payment. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So Stripe is a company based in I believe it's San Francisco. They do payments infrastructure. Like a lot of times when you go to a website and you buy a t-shirt or something, you'll check out and you'll enter your credit card and then you'll pay that way. And a lot of times that's through like Stripe. And one of the cool things that Stripe does is they have a partnership with Alipay, which, Alipay is that very popular payment app in China. So Stripe has a partnership with Alipay that allows Stripe to integrate and accept Alipay payments. So, for example, if you have a website or an app, you can integrate Stripe into it in a way that you can accept Alipay payments. So like, for example, a person in China could check out on your website and send you a payment. And then that payment would arrive I'm not going to say which currency. For me, it arrives in USD, but I don't know if that's for everyone. But it arrives in your Stripe account.
Yes. Yep. I use Stripe as well for the 2 courses that I have, and works great. So Stripe is an option, but the teacher would have to set up their web page and integrate that Stripe plugin. We've got a couple of ones. I've linked them in the video description of this. Can you mention those 2? One of them is China Payments plugin if you're using WordPress.
Yeah. So Stripe is something that you have to integrate with something else, like a website or an app. And one of the easier ways to do that, I mean, of course, if you know how to code, you could probably do it yourself, but most of us teachers don't.
Who knows how to code in the chat? Let me know. Probably not.
So probably a much easier accessible option for us is a plugin. And And what I first did was I had a WooCommerce site, and I used a plugin called WooCommerce Stripe Payment Gateway. And I went ahead and installed it, and then in the payment settings enabled Alipay, both in the WooCommerce dashboard on my website and in my Stripe dashboard. I'd go to settings, payments, and then look for Alipay, and I'd enable that. And that worked. There were some issues that I can't remember. It was more than a year ago, but what I ended up doing was switching over to a different plugin, which came with support. That's why I why I did it. Yeah. It cost a subscription, but it came with support. They installed it for me, and it's worked really well so far. And that one's called the China Payment Plugin by Gaucho.
Okay, so China Payment Plugin, if you have a WordPress site, check that out in the description. Andrea has a question, which is actually what I was talking to you about earlier, because I have gotten some folks set up under Groove. Groove is an all-in-one marketing platform, page builder, funnel builder. From what I know, Andrea, yes, I am working on getting some more information on that. And for folks that are in my website, I'm just going to pull this up here. My website course, it's my website, or onlineteacherdude.com/website. I will be adding a module to that will kind of help folks with the payment option if you're using WordPress or if you're using Groove. So good question, Andrea. Still working on that, but I believe so because Stripe does allow AliChat and WeChat Pay. Sophie, I'm looking for a teacher for my kids. Well, there's a lot of teachers in the chat right now. So yeah, hopefully you can find someone. There's yeah, definitely. It's interesting. Sophie, where are you tuning in from? Okay, now that's if a teacher wants to do all of that. If you just want a simple landing page for your services as a teacher to offer to Chinese students, then I want you to talk about my teacher shop, which is your service that you're providing. And I said that I connected with you. Folks are just jumping in, then they missed that part. But I connected with you 6 or 9 months ago to set one up for me, and I'm going to just pull it up here, and maybe you can talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So this is a personal landing page of Tim's, and it's hosted on my website. And it uses the integration that I set up, the Stripe Alipay integration. A customer could come here and fill in their billing details and add an item to their cart. Hey, Tim, could you just, yeah.
$10,000. There we go.
No, don't do that. And if you click add to order.
Yeah. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah, nothing will happen. You won't.
Let's do $10 just in case. Okay, so, add to order. Yeah.
Yeah. It automatically scrolls down. You fill in your billing details. You review the items in your cart. You can select a payment method, and there are 3: Alipay, WeChat Pay, and credit card.
Awesome.
And when you click place order, you don't have to do that. But Tim, when you do, if you did, it would redirect you to the Alipay app or the Alipay website, where you'd get a payment QR code and you'd scan it to authorize the payment. So when a customer sends a payment, it goes first to my main Stripe account, and I forward it on to teachers via Zelle or Venmo or TransferWise. Some teachers I send directly to their bank accounts.
Okay.
And yeah.
So tell us, just, I want to break that down a bit more, because maybe some folks missed it if you're watching. The parent, you would share your teacher page with the parent. They would pay you, and then it goes to you, and you kind of act as the middleman, essentially. And what are the fees involved, Joshua, with that?
It's 5 to 6%.
Okay.
5 to 6%, depending on the amount of the transfer and also the destination of the transfer. But yeah, 5 to 6% is the transaction fee, and there's no other fee. So like setting up a page is free. You can set one up.
So this is awesome. All right, what we're asking folks to do, if this is something that you want to do, Yoshua just said it's free to set up the page, but what we'd like to do is kind of prioritize folks that have teachers right now. And so I'd like you to go to the form that is in the video description if you're interested in this. Fill in the form, let them know how many students that you've kind of thinking that you currently have, and if this is something that you're interested in, and he will reach out to you. Now, if you want more information, you want to look at the FAQs, and you want to kind of just have a little look at the website, that's also linked below as well, myteachershop.com. We've also put the 2 plugins if you are a WordPress user and you're like, yep, I'm a WordPress person, which I am, but I also teach teachers how to build their website on Groove. And so, as I said, there will be a little module coming in that course that will help you with that as I figure it out as well. And yeah, so go to the forum if you are interested. Let's see if there's any questions here. If you pay from China, you cannot use the money outside WeChat. If you paid from China, you cannot use the money outside of China. Paul, if you paid from China, you cannot use the money outside of China. Not sure what that means.
I'm not sure.
Okay, someone's got a new student, Sophie Law. There we go. You're welcome, Patricia. Is there a charge to be part of this account? No. So the charge will come when you're receiving the money. Now, guys, I want to let you know that this is just an option. You can do this on your own if you would like to do that, or if you would like to kind of figure out another way, but we're just sharing options. And I thought, Yoshua really has a great solution that's like, here we go. Here's the site for the teacher. Here it can be shared, and so problem solved, essentially, right?
Yeah. Could I explain a little bit about where this idea came from?
Yeah, for sure.
So like I said, in around 2019, I was trying myself to become an independent teacher. And I created this as a solution for my own personal use, right? As we've talked about, you can have a website, you can integrate it with Stripe, you can accept Alipay payments that way, and you can too. In fact, that's what I did, and I created my website. But then around 2020, there was a big disruption to really everything, but to our industry. And there were a lot of teachers on Facebook saying, how do I get paid? How do I get paid? And I realized that, this is something that a lot of people need right now. And I just turned my website around and made it kind of like a website as a service where other teachers can use the integration that I have already. And so they don't have to create it themselves or pay for a plugin to do it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically it's the same solution, except sort of a shortcut. You could just use mine is basically what it is.
Yeah. Gotcha. Rob and Paul are having a conversation. Rob, are you in China? Do you have a Chinese bank? I'm assuming that you do. Someone asked about, and this is a question that I've seen tossed around a little bit, and we're not experts on Chinese law and Chinese policy and things like that, but obviously China is regulating the supply of teachers, but the demand is still there. And from what I have read and understood and talked to people about, it doesn't seem to be regulating. And I don't know how that can be regulated unless they banned, foreigners on the app or transfers out of China. I mean, who knows? Or anything could happen. But from what I understand, no, they're targeting the big companies and the big organizations. So again, this is something that if you're wanting to do this, it is something you have to think about and make that decision on your own. We're just giving you some options here in terms of payment that could be a solution for you. Christy asks, is it difficult to set up Stripe to integrate with Alipay? Sorry, I'm late to the live. We did talk about that, Christy. Yeah. On your WordPress website, it would take a little bit of figuring things out and reading up on things to do it yourself, but definitely possible. plugins work wonders for your WordPress website. So definitely possible, but you would need to do a bit of research, and I imagine it would take a bit of time. I'm kind of in that realm right now of navigating and figuring out that for myself. Yoshua has figured it out, and he's able to do this for teachers as well through his website. But again, you don't own that page with Yoshua, right? It's on his website. So
well, yeah, it's hosted on the website.
Exactly.
It's basically yours. The only thing is, like, if you created your own website, then you wouldn't be paying any kind of like admin fee, right? You would pay the Stripe fee, which is about 3%. So for example, if you created your own website and a student sent you $100, you would receive $97 about. But because I'm hosting a lot of different pages that are using my integration, I take like another 1% or something on top of that. So it's 5 to 6% about.
Yeah. I'm reading Rob's comments. Sorry, I'm reading Rob's comments about he's also in Thailand. It goes into my account just like a bank-to-bank transfer. Yeah, I'd love to have a conversation with you about that. That's not something I've ever been able to figure out, and I've done a lot of research into that one because it's very easy to get paid through WeChat Pay. To take WeChat Pay, to take your money out of WeChat Pay if you don't have a Chinese bank.
Into your foreign bank account?
Yeah, I don't think that's possible.
I haven't seen anyone able to do that before, but if you've been able to do it, then great. You know, whatever you found that works. If it works,
yeah, maybe I'm misunderstanding it. Rob, send me a message if I'm not understanding. Okay, fantastic. So, what else I wanted to ask you about? We were talking about, and the other great thing about using your page is that it is front facing to China, right? So there's no issues with it being read in China with the Great Firewall there that blocks a lot of Google components. One of the issues with many WordPress websites is that they would use Google fonts or maybe scripts and things like that, or different things behind the scenes that require accessing Google, which make the load time in China pretty slow. We did a little test of my website for fun earlier on a site called webpagetest.org. And if you're interested to see if you have a website and you want to see how well it loads, you can go in here and put that in. And mine actually did quite well, didn't it, in terms of speed?
Yeah, really well. I was surprised.
Look at all these verifications. So you have to make sure your location is Beijing. And then you can kind of see, and it gives you a lot of analytics around it. But what I thought was neat that you showed me is how you can also click the video next to it to basically simulate as if you were a Chinese user in China and how fast the website loads. So we'll just give that a second.
Yeah. So there are actually a number of different web page testing websites out there for China, like Greatfire, I think .org or something is another one. I specifically like this one, webpagetest.org, because they give you, you'll see it maybe in a second. I don't know how long this test is going to take, but it shows you a waterfall of every element that has to load on your site for the page to load. And it shows you how long it took each one of those to load. So it's easy to diagnose, a specific issue. Like if one thing is blocking you in the firewall, then you can identify that one thing. As far as your earlier question about a China-facing website and like making it visible in China, accepting Chinese payments is one part of it, but the other part of it is making it visible in China. And for that, you will have to remove reference to blocked resources in your site. Resources such as Google Fonts, Google API. In my experience, Gravatar.
Okay.
I had to basically, I just paid a developer friend to go in and remove and replace these bits and pieces in my site that aren't allowed in China.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
that way there's nothing on my site that's getting blocked.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Now,
Cool.
as far as do my pages load, they're a little slower. They're going to be slower. Generally,
Okay.
a foreign website in China is going to be slower than a local Chinese website because it's hosted outside of China,
Yeah.
and it has to pass through these gateways. It has to pass through the firewall, right? So it has to be checked, and so it's going to be a little
Let's see
slower.
what mine does. A little slower this time. It was like 2 seconds before. 5 seconds on run 1, 15 seconds on run 2, 7 seconds on run 3. So yeah, and then you can see here on the video, this is what it looks like as a Chinese user accessing my website. So
this is actually pretty good. My pages will load in like 7 to 10 seconds, sometimes more.
Okay, so there it is. Yeah, 6 seconds. I don't like that so much, but maybe I need to get rid of some photos and videos.
Yeah, it's something that I'm always trying to improve, but something that is always going to be like kind of a struggle trying to fine tune it so that one thing I did was I hosted my website in Hong Kong using a hosting provider that advertised a connection especially made for China-facing traffic.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So where you host it matters, and like what pieces are in your website that make up your website matters.
Yeah.
If some of those things are blocked.
And you can pay somebody just to kind of quickly go through, right? Anybody can, any developer. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it probably wouldn't be that much to just kind of get someone to clean up the Google.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Yoshua. I think that's everything. Again, folks, if you're watching and want to use his service, use the form down below. And we've also linked those plugins. And feel free to comment. We're certainly not. I'm always afraid to talk about money and payments, but hey, putting myself out there to give some options because it is possible. And if you want to make it work, you can make it work. And feel free to reach out if you've got any questions. We'll try to answer them.
Yeah.
So thanks so much.
You're welcome. And also feel free to reach out to me, even if you just want to talk about your own website. I'm happy to connect with teachers. And cool. I've gone this route, and I'm not an expert, but I might know one thing or two that maybe that might help you. So if you want, feel free to just have a chat with me, and I'll talk about everything, every mistake that I ever made. And
thanks for being willing to help out. I really appreciate that. And so do folks that are kind of stuck with some of these things. So awesome. Well, hope you have a great rest of the day. I know it's getting on in the morning for you, and we appreciate you being here and adding value and sharing your service too. So we'll talk soon, Yoshua. Thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome, Tim. See you around. Thanks for having me.
Have a good day. Yeah. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to end here, and I will look through there was some chatter about things I wanted to go back and have a look at. And if there are unanswered questions, feel free to reach out to myself or Yoshua, and we would be happy to help you. Again, his website, My Teacher Shop, is down below, as well as the form to express interest if you would like him to build you one. Know that there could be a wait list if there's a lot of interest. He's only one person, so we'd like to give him the time to be able to make sure he's setting it up for folks that are ready to start teaching. So thanks for being here, everyone. Really appreciate it. I'll be back next Monday, same time at 10 a.m. Eastern time for another chat, something related to online teaching and helping you to be successful. So I will see you next time. Have a wonderful week and happy Monday.